Just days ago, rumors swirled that Louis Vuitton's chief executive officer privately admitted the company can't keep up with the surge of refund requests, an allegation that has rocked the luxury world and left analysts warning of a deeper crisis. Years of growth turned scarcity into mass production, and now something has broken inside fashion's most guarded empire. Is this the moment the myth of invincibility starts to unravel, and what evidence really proves it? No transcript, press release, or official filing contains the words being passed around social feeds. The supposed confession from Louis Vuitton's CEO, an admission that the company is overwhelmed by refunds, remains unverified. The claim first appeared in a flurry of late-night headlines and anonymous posts, each pointing to unnamed insiders or leaked calls. Yet when tracking these sources back, the trail runs cold. Not a single mainstream financial outlet has published the statement. No audio, no video, not even a blurry screenshot. Instead, the story has spread through a network of reposts, reaction threads, and commentary videos, each echoing the last. Meanwhile, the official record tells a different story. Bernard Arnault, the man at the center of the storm, has only addressed investors in carefully chosen language. At the April 17th shareholders' assembly, he said, "Our situation is far from worrying," and he dismissed talk of a structural crisis. There is no mention, public or private, of an inability to process returns. The closest he comes is a reflection on balancing quality and sales, not a confession of operational failure. The rumor's power lies in its timing. Luxury's aura depends on control, on an image of perfection that is never supposed to crack. A single viral claim, even unproven, can send shockwaves through markets already on edge. With LVMH stock down 25% in 2025, the worst drop since the global financial crisis, investors are primed to believe the worst. Arnault's personal fortune has shrunk by over $15 billion this year, and the company's market value now trails behind rivals like Nestlé. In that climate, whispers of chaos inside Louis Vuitton find fertile ground, even without hard evidence. Every attempt to verify the CEO's alleged statement circles back to speculation. Anonymous sources, private chats, and recycled headlines fuel a sense of urgency, but none deliver proof. The story has become a test of trust between consumers, the media, and the brand itself. Until a real document or direct quote surfaces, the claim remains just that, a rumor. But in a world where perception can move billions, even a rumor is enough to demand answers. The search for the truth behind the headline begins here. Louis Vuitton's mystique has always rested on a promise. Scarcity, craftsmanship, and an aura of exclusivity. For decades, the brand's workshops in France produced limited runs of handbags and trunks, each one meant to feel rare. Waiting lists stretched for months. Boutique shelves were often bare, fueling the sense that owning a Louis Vuitton piece meant belonging to a select group. But in the last 5 years, that philosophy began to erode. Pressured by global demand and record profits, LVMH executives shifted their strategy. Instead of protecting scarcity, they pushed for volume. Factories expanded, new lines launched every season, and products once reserved for VIPs appeared in airport shops and online catalogs. The goal was clear: capture every possible sale from Beijing to Los Angeles and leave nothing on the table for competitors. Brand historians and industry analysts sounded early warnings. In 2023, a Morgan Stanley report cautioned that Louis Vuitton's rapid scaling would test the limits of its quality control. The company's own annual filings hinted at the shift, showing a 12% increase in leather goods output year over year. Production quotas rose, and boutique managers faced pressure to move inventory faster than ever. This new approach brought short-term gains. LVMH posted record revenues in 2024, with Louis Vuitton accounting for nearly half of the group's $39.8 billion in sales. But the trade-offs soon became apparent. Internal memos from the period describe mounting strain on the quality assurance teams. Longtime artisans were asked to supervise larger crews, many of whom had only months of training. The old system, where a single craftsperson signed each bag, gave way to assembly line efficiency. The result was a subtle but significant change in what the Louis Vuitton name represented. Bags that once took days to finish now rolled off the line in hours. The company's legendary attention to detail was stretched thin. Even as prices climbed above $3,000 for standard models, the sense of rarity faded. Social media posts began to question whether the brand's promise of exclusivity still held true. For LVMH, the gamble was always about scale versus mystique. Could the world's most valuable luxury brand grow bigger without losing what made it desirable in the first place? As the numbers soared, so did the risks. The foundation of trust, built over more than a century, now rested on a production model that some insiders described as unsustainable. The next cracks would not be hidden for long. A $3,500 handbag sits on a marble countertop, its corners already fraying after just a few months of occasional use. The monogram canvas, once considered nearly indestructible, now shows patches where the pattern has faded and the coating has peeled away. Zippers snag, hardware tarnishes, and stitching comes loose along the seams. In online forums and private group chats, owners post photos of cracked leather trim, warped handles, and lining that separates from the bag's shell. Some describe the sound of glue giving way, a faint pop that signals a handle about to detach. Others share videos of clasps that refuse to close, or straps that snap under the weight of a wallet and phone. The complaints rarely come from first-time buyers. Many are long-time collectors, people who remember when a Louis Vuitton bag was supposed to last for years, sometimes decades, without showing its age. One customer who purchased a Neverfull tote for $2,900 in 2024 documents how the coated canvas began to bubble and flake after a single rainy day. Another, who splurged on a Capucines for over $6,000, points out uneven edges and a buckle that arrived scratched straight from the box. The disappointment is clear. These are not small purchases, and the expectation is not just about looks. It is about the promise of durability, the sense that a luxury item should outlast fast fashion. For many, the frustration is not only with the product, but with the feeling of being dismissed. Screenshots of email exchanges with customer service circulate widely. Some responses suggest the damage is normal wear and tear, even when the item is only weeks old. Others offer repairs at a cost, or simply refuse service, citing policy changes. The sense of betrayal runs deep. When a $3,500 bag cannot survive the daily commute, or a $900 wallet unravels within a season, the old logic of paying for quality falls apart. The evidence piles up in Instagram stories, TikTok unboxings, and forum threads that stretch for dozens of pages. Each post chips away at the myth of unbreakable luxury, leaving buyers to wonder if the Louis Vuitton name still means what it once did. Luxury boutiques have always promised a certain experience, attentive staff, seamless service, and the quiet assurance that any problem will be made right. In 2025, that promise started to unravel inside Louis Vuitton's own stores. Customers walked in with receipts and damaged goods, only to be told repairs were no longer possible. Some were handed a printed policy sheet. Others were told point-blank that their bag's issues were not covered. Boutique managers, once eager to help, now cited strict new guidelines. The reasons varied: excessive wear, improper storage, out of warranty, but the answer was the same: no repair, no exception. The frustration did not end at the counter. Phone lines rang busy for hours. Automated replies flooded inboxes, offering little more than apologies and links to FAQ pages. Customers who managed to reach a live agent often found themselves bounced between departments, each disclaiming responsibility. In Paris, a woman waited 3 weeks for a response about her peeling wallet. In Los Angeles, a man was told his defective zipper was not a manufacturing fault. Stories like these multiplied across continents, echoing through WhatsApp groups and online forums. Inside the company, staff felt the pressure. Employees described days spent fielding angry calls and watching returns pile up behind the register. One boutique worker in London reported that return requests were up to 5 times higher than normal. The usual flow of service, greeting clients, guiding them through collections, handling the occasional exchange, had been replaced by a steady stream of complaints and refund demands. Some staff quietly admitted they were told to hold the line and avoid escalating cases, even when customers threatened to go public. As word spread, the lines between a single bad experience and a systemic breakdown began to blur. The old image of the luxury boutique, calm, exclusive, in control, gave way to scenes of confusion and resentment. For the first time, the brand's famed customer service was being tested not by rare mishaps, but by a wave of returns that no one seemed prepared to handle. The frustration spilled beyond the boutiques, setting the stage for a much larger reckoning. One TikTok upload changed everything. In the clip, a well-known luxury influencer holds up a Louis Vuitton Speedy, pointing out cracks in the canvas and a handle that is already unraveling. Her review is blunt. She says she paid $2,900 and it fell apart in 3 months. Within hours, the video goes viral, racking up millions of views. Comments flood in, with hundreds of buyers sharing their own stories, and some posting side-by-side shots of peeling wallets and warped hardware. The hashtag #LVRefunds trends across platforms. Resale data analysts start tracking the fallout. Listings for Louis Vuitton bags spike overnight and prices nosedive. On major secondhand sites, Neverfulls and Capucines appear at 40 to 60% below retail, sometimes still with their original receipts tucked inside. Sellers admit they are cutting losses, convinced the market will not recover. Resale experts call it the sharpest drop they have seen for a top-tier luxury brand in years. The outrage is not confined to collectors or fashion insiders. Mainstream news outlets pick up the story, replay the viral clip, and interview frustrated owners. Social media turns a handful of complaints into a movement, and what started as a niche grumble explodes into a full-scale backlash. The domino effect is impossible to ignore. A single video, a flood of returns, and a resale crash that leaves investors scrambling. LVMH's stock chart for 2025 reads like a warning. Over 12 months, shares lost a quarter of their value. It was the sharpest decline since the 2008 crash. On April 12th alone, the company's market capitalization shrank by billions, erasing years of steady gains in a single day. Bernard Arnault, usually the picture of composure, watched his personal fortune drop by $15.1 billion, slipping from the world's richest person to fifth place. For a brand that once seemed untouchable, the reversal was swift and public. Analysts on French business news dissected the numbers, reporting a 2% dip in activity, a 17% plunge in profits and sales for the first quarter of 2025 down across key regions. LVMH's revenue, still massive at 39.8 billion euros, could not distract from the reality that its market value now lagged behind Nestlé. The pressure mounted as investors demanded answers, some questioning whether the luxury boom had run its course. Arnault took the microphone at the shareholders' meeting. His tone measured but unmistakably defensive. "Our situation is far from worrying," he told the room, pushing back against talk of a structural crisis. He insisted that the group was focused on long-term quality, not chasing every sale. But the financial damage was plain to see, and the market's reaction left little room for spin. For the first time in decades, LVMH's aura of invincibility was gone. Luxury's troubles don't stop at the boutique door. In 2024, China's appetite for high-end goods shrank by 22%, a contraction that sent shockwaves through every major brand's balance sheet. For Louis Vuitton, the pain was immediate. By April, Asia-Pacific sales were down 6.4%, and within China alone, revenue dropped 11% in just 3 months. Analysts warned that the days of easy growth in Shanghai and Beijing were over. The company's reliance on Chinese shoppers, once seen as a strength, now looked like a liability. Across the Pacific, new U.S. tariff threats loomed. With a quarter of LVMH's global sales at risk from a potential 10% import tax, investors grew uneasy. The French conglomerate's shares fell nearly 13% after the policy was announced, even as the broader CAC 40 index in Paris gained ground. Each new headline about trade disputes or economic slowdowns erased millions from LVMH's market cap. Competitors seized the moment. Hermès, Prada, and Bottega Veneta reported stable or even rising demand, especially among buyers disillusioned with Louis Vuitton's recent moves. Industry analysts pointed to a shift in loyalty. Shoppers who once lined up for LV monograms now turned to brands that promised slower production, stricter quality controls, and a sense of authenticity. In a world where luxury is no longer guaranteed, the old rules no longer apply. Luxury no longer guarantees loyalty. As global consumers demand true value and social media exposes every flaw, brands once seen as untouchable are now answering to public scrutiny. LVMH's market value dropped 25% in 2025, erasing billions in days. The lesson is stark. In today's market, trust can vanish faster than prestige. What is your take? Share your thoughts in the comments below.